Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today's topic is the only sin to avoid, and it's your ticket to heaven. Once again, this was inspired by one of my questions from my wife. So we are on a roll today. We know about the oldest logics. We know Aristotle's excluded middle. That means anything is either true or false. It cannot be both. If you look at Shahada, there is no deity but Allah. Negation comes first. And that's the major premise. The minor premise, of course, is Muhammad is Allah's messenger. So if negative comes first, what is negative? Falsehood. Eliminating falsehood should come first. And we know that from the logic discussed by, present in Quran by the logic of Ibrahim. He was eliminating falsehoods. Then he came to the conclusion, came to the truth by eliminating falsehoods. There's a hadith that says, if you have to focus on one single act that you should avoid, one single sin that you should avoid, Prophet Muhammad said, is don't lie, avoid lying. That is it. For that, we need to know what is falsehood. And it's actually a very profound question. I would rank it as important as what is the truth. And I talked about it. I asked the question, what is true? And that turned out to be a 70-page long white paper that I included in every publication of mine, every book. So this is an important question. What is falsehood? We know from Quran, every sin is a lie. These are very verses of Quran. Every lie is kufr. And every kufr leads to self-destruction in the long run. What is falsehood? The root has to be true. False, rather. The root. It originates from falsehood. False meaning doesn't exist. The process or the process is false. Somewhere it got disconnected. So even if it has a true root, it has been disconnected somewhere. So the outcome is still false. So what is the root of any action? First hadith in book of Bukhari talks about innamal a'malu binniyat. All intentions, it's the intention that determines the outcome. So you are judged by your intention. So intention is the root of all actions. And turns out we own our intention, nothing else. We do not have ownership. We do not have control of anything other than intention. With that, if your intention is true, we have a correct start. If your intention is false, we have false start. So it doesn't matter what you do afterwards. True intention will give rise to real. False intention would give rise to falsehood. So what is a false intention? Intention that is to please anyone but Allah. And this is, think about it. If you make intention to please somebody, would that person be always pleased? No. It's guaranteed that it won't be true, because nobody can be pleased forever. Only entity who would remain pleased forever is Allah. You know that you can never please anyone but Allah forever. It is like having a false start. It's irrelevant how fast you run. Once you have intended to please somebody other than Allah, or forsake of Allah, then it's a false start. It doesn't matter what to do. It doesn't count. Now, let me clarify. You want to make your mother happy, right? And you know mothers are always happy if you do something good. Is that a false start? Yes, because you have to do that because Allah ordered you to do so. If not, why should Allah reward you? It's the same. I want to please my wife, or I want to please my husband. That should not be the first question. First question should be what Allah wants me to do. Which way Allah will be pleased with me if I make my husband happy. My husband wants to drink, and I want to please him, so I bring him drink. Is that any good? No, it's still false. It doesn't matter how pleased he is. It's hadith that makes exception when you are actually allowed, and in some cases you are required to avoid giving the correct information. It's not a lie because it's defining what is not a lie. And it comes back to pleasing Allah. For instance, to reconcile between people. For instance, a friend of yours said badmouth another friend of yours. The other friend comes to you and said, is it true that so-and-so badmouthed me? You have to lie. You cannot say, oh, it's true, really. Why? Because Allah says so. You cannot say something in absence of that person, which is not, even if it's true, which is not pleasing. It would create animosity. So you are actually required to either not say anything or say that, no, it's the opposite. He never badmouths you. He actually loves you. So what are you doing by doing that? What are you gaining? You're gaining pleasure of Allah. That's why it's important. In wartime, you're caught by the enemy, and they ask you, well, what is the plan? What can you tell us? You absolutely have to tell everything live. You have to tell them, misguide them. It's an obligation. Similarly, when husband or wife is trying to please their spouse, your wife asks you, do you find me attractive? Are you supposed to say that, oh, geez, I wish he didn't ask me? Because really, I like anybody else more. That's absurd. You have to lie. Another hadith. Shaitan is a liar, even when he makes a factual statement. It's very important. If Shaitan tells you the earth moves around the sun, it's still alive. You know why? Because his intention is not good. So source matters. Whoever is telling you that statement, the source matters. Quran 49:6 tells you that if a fasik comes to you with any news, it's an order from Allah. Ascertain the truth, lest you harm people unwittingly. And afterwards, become full preparation for what you have done. See, it's very profound. Fasik, by the way, is the one who broke covenant with Allah. And who are they? Just about everybody. Today, whoever controls the media, whoever controls information, 99.999% of them are fasik. They are not honoring covenant with Allah. Even so-called Muslims, cultural Muslims are not. So you simply cannot use them as source. What happens if you do? You will end up hurting people. Your action will hurt people, including your spouse. So this is how it goes. Facts are facts, right? Those are information. They are not subjective. But the way you process it takes you to hell. Same fact. The way you process takes you to hell. So information is nothing. How you process it, it makes it real knowledge or ignorance. In 2003, we made a documentary where we actually mentioned, it was new at the time, that information age can create the backdrop of infinite injustice, as well as infinite justice, depending on who is controlling the information. If it is controlled by good guys who are motivated by pleasing Allah, that's infinite justice. You're going to heaven. If it's controlled by bad guys who are motivated by anything but Allah, that will take you to hell. Same information. So any source other than Quran, Hadith is suspect. So somebody says you, I have found this information from Googling or whatever, ChatGPT. It's a suspect. It falls under the fasik rule. If it's coming from a fasik, you are not supposed to take it. By default, it's a falsehood. And it makes it only Quran and Hadith the only form of legitimate evidence. And we talked about that in other talks. Only Quran and Hadith. And there is, of course, evidence that in nature, unaltered, firsthand, not controlled experiments, not media spun. There's other evidence. In Arabic, it's called Korea Zahiri, visible evidence. So it's not internet, it's not ChatGPT, it's not Google, it's not DeepSeek, it's not Chatly AI. Those are not your source of truth. Those are false. Not in memes. Oh, I found this very attractive meme and boom, I'm going to recycle. Is this so funny? It's not. You are spreading falsehood. not in mimics, symbols, whatever. These are not from Quran and Hadith. They are from Farsi source. They might be titillating, they might be exciting, they might give you relief from boredom, but they are shaitanic. These are the ones are lies. If it's not from Allah, it's from shaitan. And you can look it up. All the memes, all the emojis. They are demonic. They came from shaitan. They all have hidden meaning. That's why it's important to go back to 49.6. If it came from Fasik, you are not to accept it. You always have to check the source. Always ask for the source, and you'd know. So who first introduced this? Is it Quran or Hadith? Is it in Islam? No. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It could be crescent, it could be star, whatever. That's a no. That's a false start. I get a kick off of a lot of people who think that, the symbol of Islam is crescent and the moon, a star. Complete falsehood. Because it's not rooted in Quran and Hadith. And if you think about it, every lie is irrelevant at best. If it's a lie, it's irrelevant at best. All you have to do is look at the root. Fear is an absurd concept. Why? What is there to fear? Fear of death? Who can avoid death? Who can avoid being dead at the given time? There is nothing that we can do about what is going to happen in this world. To be afraid of that has no meaning. Greed is absurd. Why? Because whatever Allah has given you will be yours. Nobody can take it away. Why should you be greedy? Lust is absurd. Whoever you sleep with if it is in qadr, in universal order. You don't have to go freak out about it. It doesn't matter how much you freak out, it's not going to happen. Same way, gluttony, hatred, pride, racism, these are all absurd. They are all lies. They are rooted in lie. You see how important it is to avoid lying, avoid falsehood? It's very simple. All you have to do is ask the question. There's hadith, cure to ignorance is to ask questions. Questions with the intention to be close to Allah, not randomly. So why am I doing this? Who created this? I want to find the truth. Who invented this concept that I'm reading so attentively? Then you realize that with that positive source, with that true source, you would be traveling the upper path, and that goes to heaven. On the other hand, with any sin, you'll be traveling the opposite path. Shaitan wants you to travel this fear, path of fear. Allah wants you to travel the path of love. This is the false start, and the upper one is the true start. Ask, is it a true source or false source? Why am I doing it? Who is being pleased? Then you see false start does not have good ending. So you avoid that and you're on. Assalamu alaikum.